All right, everybody, welcome to my philosophy of education. My name is Andres Rios, and I pursue a teaching career in Spanish, and I designed my presentation to kind of mimic a classroom. And as you can see in the top right corner, signs in Spanish that are inspirational. All right, but anyways, let's get started. So, who am I? Like I previously said, I am Andres Rios. This is an image of me at a school I subbed for a couple of weeks ago. My background, I am a product of Mexican immigrants. Both of my parents were born in Mexico, but I was born in the US, which makes me a Chicano. My family, so this is my mom, myself on the right hand side, I am 20 years old, and my brother on the left hand side, who is 17 years old and is currently a senior in high school. My goal, I think my biggest goal is balance. I want to keep a nice balance between a Spanish teaching career and traveling, not necessarily just traveling, but being able to practice self-care and, explore other things. This is not only a financial balance because I do want to learn how to manage my money, considering that teaching salary is pretty low, especially when you start off. But I also seek a work balance because I don't want to overwork myself at it, as it is typical for lots of first year teachers. Purpose of education. All right, education, as defined by those who can teach, is a process of human growth. I added the word purpose, with the purpose of gaining greater understanding and control over oneself and one's world. Given this definition, I would say the purpose of education is to just gain greater understanding over yourself and what is around you. So, education is something that is lifelong and continuous. It starts before school and continues after college. Many people like to get the word schooling and education mixed up. Education to me is just pretty much learning, formal learning like that of school, and informal learning, in life, in the universe. And the agents of education range because you can pretty much learn from anybody from whatever age, not just teachers. Role of a teacher, it is obviously to teach, but there are also other roles like being a gatekeeper, deciding who talks, supply dispenser, helping keeping the structure of the classroom, which is classroom management, being a timekeeper, instructional decision maker, evaluating which lesson plans worked, what we would want to do better next time, promoting a positive learning environment, and supporting students by providing resources. Now, I don't want to get the role of a teacher confused with what makes a teacher effective, because what makes a teacher effective, such as building connections, going that extra mile, in my opinion, that's not really the role of the teacher, or at least society doesn't claim that to be the role. But I do think that it's important as well, to have connections, to go that extra mile for your students. Now, the role of a student, obviously attend class, be prepared, whether it be supply-wise or with the homework, positive attitude. Learning is also an important role, not only learning the concepts or the methods that pertain to that subject area, but also how they can be applied to the real world. Obviously, your job is to learn because there will be a test, there will be a summative assessment, but it's also kind of important to think outside the box and see how you can apply your knowledge into the outside world. Also contribute towards a positive learning environment for your peers. I feel like that's an important role for the students. What am I going to teach? I'm going to teach Spanish. It's pretty obvious, I think, at this point, Español. My ultimate goal is to teach AP Spanish language, but I'm open to starting off with lower levels of Spanish, preferably the native speakers. So these are my goals for students in Spanish class. I divided it into two. Regarding educational goals, I want them to learn how to read and write Spanish correctly, learn about something about the culture of Latin America, whether it be a specific country, geography, anything. I just want them to learn something about, the culture. And I want them to expand their Spanish vocabulary and feel more comfortable speaking it. Now, as far as community goals go, I want students to be able to gain comfort with public speaking skills and time management because I think those are two skills that are fundamental at the college level. I also want to build a positive classroom environment. I want students to build connections with their classmates, and I also want them to use Spanish outside of the classroom. Who am I going to teach? My students will obviously be adolescents, most likely freshmen and sophomores. I want to teach at a Title I high school with low income students because I myself come from a low income background, so it's kind of nice to give back to your community. And I would want to work with native Spanish speakers. However, I am open to working with those who don't speak Spanish. All right, why adolescents specifically? I think they're fun to be around. They're also an important transition in their life, the bridge between childhood and adulthood, where they're still discovering their identity. And most of them are pretty eager to learn and excel academically and move on to college. And I like that spirit, that motivation. Why do I wish to teach them? I like the level of independence that comes with high school students, especially when it comes to learning. I like that sometimes they can trust their educators more than their parents. So I want to be, that person they can come to. I want to provide that safe space for inclusive learning as well. And support. I want to support first gen students. And I also want to provide emotional support to my students. And I want to be involved in their life. What sports do they play at school? How's your outside life going? I think that'd be pretty cool. That's why I would want to teach them. How do they learn? So my beliefs about how adolescents learn, I believe they learn best with graphic organizers, with project-based learning, role-playing, a balance of independent and collective instruction. I think that balance is pretty critical. Technology integration, when the content is related to their life, real world experiences, by seeing something done first, then doing it themselves. I think it's also, they learn best from their peers and through competition and fun activities. As you can see, the learning pyramid, 90% of the information is retained when another student teaches them or when they practice doing it, So this is just my belief of how they learn best. Now, how am I going to teach? So here I have a curriculum. This is a sample unit that I came up with called La Cultura de América Latina, the culture of Latin America. And it addresses the culture standard 2 according to the World Language State Standards, cultural products, practices, and perspectives. I did list the standard there. I'm not going to read it because it's going to take up more of my time. But regardless, it revolves around culture, which I think is important in a Spanish class. Instructional strategies, collaboration, role-playing, and technology integration, I think are going to be key in this unit. Students will choose groups of 4 to 5 students and select a country in Latin America. They will then role-play as news reporters. They will research and create a news report channel about different aspects of that country's culture. How am I going to assess? For entry-level assessment, I will use a KWL Poplet, which is a know, want to learn, and learned. And through this mind map, this is digital, which is already integrating technology, and it allows students to discuss information they already know about Latin America and stimulate curiosity. The neat thing, I did provide an example, by the way, on the left-hand side that I created. And the neat thing is that the Poplet is shared with the whole class, so students will be able to see what other students have written down as well. How am I going to assess formatively? A sorting graphic organizer, which I did provide on the left-hand side. So throughout class lectures and by completing research, during designated class time, students will complete this graphic organizer to help organize their information for the news channel. As you can see, these jars have different categories. And lastly, the summative assessment will be the news report channel itself. I don't have an example, but I kind of provided an image to give you guys an idea of what I mean by creating your own news report channel. Again, students will exercise creativity, relate to real-world experiences, use technology, role play as news reporter, and as far as grading goes, they will be graded based on the fulfilled required portions, their use of the Spanish language, and the content. And thank you for joining me in my journey, and I wish everybody the best. Remember, you are making a difference every day. Thank you, everybody.